Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, January 9th. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you. Alex back after being absent yesterday, and we're ready for this Thursday NHL card. Huge slate on tap, as usual, 10 games in the NHL. We'll get to those in just a moment. But first things first, we will look back on a Wednesday night that had a couple of interesting games in the NHL. Of course, one of them was postponed due to the awful situation in LA with the the wildfires. Just absolutely awful situation there, and it's causing a lot more postponements for other sporting events in that area as well. And again, we continue to say well wishes and thoughts and prayers to everyone affected out there. But last night we saw the Vancouver Canucks and the Washington Capitals really play a very entertaining game, even though it was low scoring. It was very physical. It was a lot of animosity. It was a chippy game throughout. And the Washington Capitals once again find a way to win, a 2-1 in overtime against Vancouver. They were largely outplayed for a good chunk of that game, especially the second period. It was 21-5 for the Canucks, shots on goal in that second period. Unfortunately, that second period, they didn't capitalize on it enough. They got the one goal out of Garland to tie the game, but didn't really capitalize on it enough. The game goes to OT. Very good for me because I had the draw yesterday, plus 340 in that game. Unfortunately, the first period over falls short. I had a smaller bet on the full game over. That falls short as well. But the draw did help minimize the damage in that game. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, man, what a game for him. He gets both Washington goals, including the overtime winner, 2-1. And I said this on the Twitter X right after the game. Just give Spencer Carberry Jack Adams Award right now. Just give it to him, just for getting something, anything out of Pierre-Luc Dubois this year. Because he is getting something really, really good out of Pierre-Luc Dubois. Just right there. He's coach of the year. You're getting PLD playing to a level that we have not seen in a very long time. He should be coach of the year just for that, getting something out of that guy. But credit to Carberry for getting it out of him, and credit to PLD for playing well finally. And he has had a nice little run here of late for the Washington Capitals, and of course the 2 goals last night in the victory over Vancouver, 2-1. How about your Blackhawks? 3-1. The Chicago Blackhawks get it done. And finally, I don't have to hear about this national TV losing streak anymore.
Yep.
It's finally over. It gets snapped last night with the win over Colorado. They obviously faced the youngster called up from the minors, making his first NHL start, Trent Miner, last night for the Colorado Avalanche. I don't think he played that bad. Chicago, got a couple of goals in. But the important thing for Chicago was Peter Mrazek playing one of his best games of the season. And we were worried about his level of play lately, and he kind of took it upon himself to say, I need to be better. And he sure was last night. 35 saves and a very, very good performance in the victory for the Chicago Blackhawks last night as they take care of Colorado 3-1. I did warn you, I liked the first period over more than the full game over last night in that game. And I had the full game over too, but I had more on the first period over. So because of that, we get profit out of that game, and Chicago gets the 3-1 win over Colorado. And the Florida Panthers, I like them in the bounce back spot last night against Utah. Pretty much they were the better team most of that game, and eventually broke it open late, 4-1 over the Utah Hockey Club. It was a good performance from the entire group. Their penalty kill was good. They were opportunistic. Reinhart gets the power play goal for them. Of course, Boquist into the empty net to seal it away, and he got the second goal as well for the Florida Panthers. But a real solid effort after a disappointing loss against Colorado. Poor Utah. Every good team is kind of using them as their stepping stone to bounce back and get back on track. Saw Dallas do it. Saw Colorado go into Utah and beat them, and the Florida Panthers follow suit last night with a 4-1 win there against the Utah Hockey Club. Alex, welcome back, and thoughts on Wednesday night?
Yeah, well, I mean, guys, start with the Hawks game. That was just absolutely fantastic, and it really could have been 4-1 or 5-1. Like I said, even though Trent Miner didn't play bad, but the Hawks were buzzing throughout that contest. The goal that was taken away by Connor Bedard He ends up getting back later in the third period. Good to see Frank Nazar get a goal. Colton Dock got the assist on that, so he gets his first point in the NHL. And like I said, Peter Mrazek getting back into form. They realized it was his first win since before Thanksgiving. He had lost his last 6 starts, and of course was kind of banged up a little bit. So for him to get the win, and now they can kind of build on that confidence of beating a team like Colorado. And that's a tough loss for Colorado. I mean, you got to at least try to come away with some points. And we talked about that. We've been seeing a lot of these games go to overtime, and we have another one with Vancouver and Washington. This is prime draw season spot, right? Two teams.
Especially these East-West matchups, especially. Yep.
It's that cross conference and not in each other's way, but they're both, in their own playoff races. And when they have a tight game late, you're not going to see much action. It's funny. I did a little snapshot thing. I'll do it at the end, finish it at the end of the weekend. We'll post this of all the different games that have gone to overtime. But when I was looking to see when the final goal was scored, there was only a couple of games where there was a goal in the final minute. We talked about there was a game a couple of nights ago where they game. I think it was with Tampa Bay. Braden Point scored in the final minute and broke up in overtime. But other than that, most of these goals you're seeing scored, they're early in the third period, late in the second period, and you're not seeing any action in the third. So when you have a draw bet and you see in a game that's already tied at 3, tied at 4 in the third period, at some point, you can start looking at that, third period under live. So especially if you get an early goal in the third period, go right ahead and bet that third period under live if you already have a draw, knowing that you don't need any more goals and you know that the pace is going to slow down. There's a lot of things that I'm looking at now to start kind of tailoring my live betting with the draw angles. So that's something that I'll be working on. That's something I've been kind of watching just personally the last couple of games. So I'll be sharing that information a little bit more over the next few days.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Matt's feeling it too. He's sick. Everyone's taking turns being sick. He's under the weather today, coming back from. I think Florida made him sick. I was saying to Alex before we started the show, I think Florida made him sick. To say Matt was not thrilled spending 2-3 days of his precious time in Florida this week was an understatement. Not thrilled, not amused, not impressed with what the state of Florida had to offer when he was there earlier this week. Hopefully, people are amused with what we have to offer as far as betting opportunities here on this Thursday NHL card. And with that in mind, we'll jump into it. We've got Seattle, Columbus to get things going. Seattle minus 120, road favorites. The total 6 here, pretty much across the board. This was 6.5, but it's pretty much fallen to 6 now in most spots. Obviously, when you look at Seattle, struggling again, just when it seemed like, they're starting to win a couple of games, and then they finish that homestand in poor fashion again, all over again, Seattle. So it's been a really tough time for them. They haven't really been able to get on an extended run of really strong hockey. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. Now they start this road trip after 3 straight home losses to Vancouver, Edmonton, New Jersey. See if they're able to bounce back here starting this road trip. Columbus, meanwhile, they are in kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. They've gone 6-3 in their last 9 games overall. Back-to-back wins for them. They beat St. Louis 6-4 at home. They rallied back from a 3-1 deficit in Pittsburgh the other night, and they beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-3 in a shootout. So very impressive comeback victory for Columbus on the road, which has not been their specialty. We've talked about how they've struggled quite a bit on the road. So that's either a very good win for them or a horrible loss for Pittsburgh the other night. Probably a little bit of both. Merzlikins is confirmed in net for Columbus. Not a big surprise. This is a team, though, that has got mounting injury problems. They were already without, Shinikov was on IR. They've been without Danforth for a while. Branson's been on IR. Boone Jenner's been on IR. But now you add Cole Sillinger, a center iceman, to the injury list. He's day-to-day. He may not go tonight. And, of course, the big injury in the last game was Sean Monahan for the Columbus Blue Jackets, a guy that's had over 40 points this season, was doing a really good job centering that top line. And now you've got no Sean Monahan tonight, which means the youngster, Adam Fantilli, in year 2, is going to move up to the top line center spot for the Blue Jackets in place of the injured Sean Monahan. Big shoes to fill, obviously, with how well Monahan's played. And it's not just the offensive numbers he's put up, Monahan. You're going to miss the physicality. He is a physical player. You're going to miss the face-off prowess that Monahan possesses. He's one of the better face-off players on this team. There's no doubt. So definitely going to be missed. It's a big hole to fill because now you're looking at Fantilli And plus Sillinger, it may not go tonight. He's a game time decision. So he's also a center ice or center for this team. And if he's not out as well due to an illness, you've got Fantilli. They've called up Luca Del Bel Baluz, one of my favorite names, Sean Corrali. You're looking at, some issues with depth at the center position for the Jackets, especially if Sillinger's a no-go tonight. So you do get concerned a little bit about that. Seattle might be welcoming Joey Decord back. He has been out for a period of time. It's been Philip Grubauer while Decord's been sidelined, but chances are that he will play tonight. We haven't got it confirmed yet. That's what I'm waiting on, but Joey Decord is expected to return. He was activated from the IR after Seattle's game against New Jersey. So I expect him to play, but we just have not had it confirmed yet. I am still on the over by Fecta here. It makes sense. Seattle's been trending first period over lately. Columbus has been as well. If you look at series history with these two teams, 5-2, 4-2, 7-4, no fewer than 6 goals in the last 3 head-to-head meetings, including a couple that had 7 and 11 total goals scored. So I like this over by Fecta. I'll be honest, if I see Decord's confirmed, you guys, I'm very much leaning to Seattle here. And I don't like the idea of fading Columbus at home, but the Monahan injury bothers me. They're very thin at center ice. Seattle's dominated this series as well. They've won against Columbus 5 straight times head-to-head. I'm waiting on that Decord confirmation because I do think the spot sets up nicely for Seattle. Now, they could just be not good enough to take advantage of it. We know they're struggling right now, but this feels like a spot for Seattle to start the road trip. They got to have something positive. Columbus is a little wounded down the middle. So I'm leaning Seattle, but I need Decord confirmed in there for me to make the move there. I do like this over by Fecta, though. I've already locked that one in. Alex, what do you think here? Seattle, Columbus.
This game's everything live to me. Total side, everything I'm looking for. I feel like I can wait because, like you said, Columbus at home, they're a solid team, but Seattle's been struggling. And like you said, road trip. We always look at that. The beginning of a road trip is when you're a struggling team is usually the time to try and change the tide, change the direction. But I'm not laying 120 to do that. So if I see the pace there, maybe Columbus gets a goal early, but Seattle can fight back. I'll look for them live. Even with the over by Fecta, I think we could wait and get plus price in on the first period over. Maybe try and get a 5.5 laying something with the full game over. So live looks for me all around in this one.
No doubt. And by the way, as far as props go tonight, I think Kent Johnson, goal, assist, either one I like. I'm obviously going to, like Voronkov and Marchenko, we can't argue with maybe looking in those two directions. They've been great, consistent for Columbus. But I think Adam Fantilli's worth a look here. He's going to get that opportunity. Now, it's a big assignment now. Top line, this is probably going to be eventually a guy that could be a top line regular. But I like his offensive game and the way it's getting stronger in recent games. He's got 4 points in the last 3 games, back-to-back games with a goal. So I think Adam Fantilli, again, big shoes to fill, with the way Sean Monahan's played for the Jackets this year. But make no mistake about it, I think Fantilli's ready for that. I think the goal prop especially, really good value with him getting this opportunity, centering the Marchenko-Voronkov group, that top line. Again, you can find Fantilli right now as high as plus 340 to score a goal tonight. Why not? I think it's and again, back-to-back games with a goal for him as well. Seattle, just a couple that I'm interested in for them in this game. Kakko, Beniers, Schwartz. I think goal props are all live for all 3 of those guys because I like the chemistry they've had here of late. And I'm going to go back to the well with the old Oliver Bjorkstrand, former player angle facing Columbus. And he's I think, scored before against Columbus as a member of the Seattle Kraken. So I think I'm going to go down to that well and look at Oliver Bjorkstrand here tonight for the Seattle Kraken. To maybe find the back of the net here against his old mates. All right, next up, we've got Buffalo and Ottawa. Ottawa Senators minus 150, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Here's the thing with Ottawa. You're going to look at it and say, holy shit, what a long road trip. Long-ass road trip, but it was broken up by the Christmas break. And yes, it was a lot of games after Christmas. But one thing that maybe some people may not be aware of, before the Detroit game, which was played, I believe, on Tuesday night. They played in St. Louis Friday. They actually came back to Ottawa for a couple of days before going to Detroit for the final game of that road trip. So they didn't go from St. Louis to Detroit. They went from St. Louis back home to Ottawa, got to spend a couple of days back home in Ottawa to decompress, and then they went to Detroit for the final game of that road trip. So very, very important to point that out, that it's not that same brutal spot for Ottawa, because they did make the pit stop in Ottawa before going to Detroit for the final game of that road trip. Either way, it's not the greatest spot, and obviously they're laying a significant price that I'm not all that enamored to, lay minus 150 or so with Ottawa, with Anton Forsberg in net, and of course he's confirmed in net with Linus Ullmark still on the shelf and missing in action. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen picked a pack of pickled peppers. I haven't said that in a while. UPL will get the starting assignment here for the Buffalo Sabres, as expected. It's an interesting spot. Ottawa coming off 3 straight losses to end that road trip. Normally, when a team is coming off several losses to end a road trip and they're back home, I don't love betting against them. Usually they're a sense of urgency and focus. Whereas if they had won 3 in a row to end the road trip, I'd be a little bit more eager to fade Ottawa here in this spot. That being said, I don't want to lay $150 with them and with Forsberg. I'm not on Buffalo, though, either. It's a pass for me from a side perspective. It is not a pass for me from a totals perspective. We're going back to our second straight over by Fecta to start the card. Buffalo's been an over machine in the first period. Look at these games with Ottawa-Buffalo head-to-head. 5-1, 6-2, 5-3, 5-1, 6-4. We've had 4-3 before that. 6 straight head-to-head meetings have had at least 6 goals with the Senators and the Sabres. I was shocked. Couldn't believe it that this morning you could get 5.5 with this total at DraftKings. I couldn't believe that there was a 5.5 available with the total in this game, given that track record and given that series history. I know Ottawa trended under at the end of the road trip. I think now there's an onus after only scoring 4 goals in the last 3 games of that trip. Let's get some offense going. Buffalo will invite a bit more of an up-and-down style of game, and I think we get back to that here. So over by Fecta for me, over 1.5 first period, over 5.5 minus 130 at DraftKings I was able to find. I couldn't believe that the total in this game, full game, was that low. 5.5 you were able to get at a minus 130. I thought this total should have been 6 juice to the over. I even expected maybe even 6.5 with the way Buffalo's been playing lately. I think it's a bargain, big time bargain. Alex, what do you think here? Sabres, Sens.
Yeah, like I said, there's those rare times where 130, minus 130 or minus 135 even can be a bargain, and here's the case for sure with that 5.5. So shop around and look for that. Like I said, rather than laying, because you're laying $1.05, $1.10 with the 6s. So if you were getting plus money with a 6, then obviously that would be something where we look at. But I do expect goals here, and I like the draw here in this spot. I grabbed that this morning at plus 320 at BetMGM. I think I'm seeing now plus 330s. So that, once again, shop around for that. But you got 2 division teams. He said this is one of those clear kind of draw season spots where even with Ottawa coming back from the long road trip, like I said, but it was broken up a bit. So this is a game where they still maybe could be feeling their legs a bit, but is Buffalo one of those teams to really just fully take advantage of that? So this is one where plus 320, plus 330, I like to draw, but I'm also going with that over by Fecta. And like I said, I grabbed that with that 5.5. Shop around for that.
Yeah, no doubt. As far as props in this game, we've talked about Zucker a lot lately, and yes, he's been scoring lately for the Sabres. Dylan Cousins, I think, is worth a shot tonight, and so is Ryan McLeod. McLeod's playing with Tuck and Peterka, so a little bump for him. Cousins looks like he'll be centering the Zucker, Tage, Thompson line for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, I know Cousins has gone 5 straight games without a goal, but he did have 5 shots in the last 2 games combined, so he's been shooting the puck. Now he's going to get even greater ice time and opportunity on the top line. So I still think it's worth a shot here with Cousins. For the Ottawa Senators, I'm still going to Ridley, Gregg, and Pinto. Great value. Both of those guys playing with the captain, Brady Tkachuk, on the top line still for the Ottawa Senators. So I'm interested most in props for those 2 players on the Ottawa Senators side of the equation. And by the way, I don't know if everyone was able to see this or was aware of this, but apparently Tage Thompson the other night, he had like the hardest shot recorded since they've been doing tracking these stats of the hardest shot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for a goal, I should say. A hardest shot for a goal being scored was like 104 miles an hour or something from Tage Thompson, the goal he scored the other night. So,
wow.
There you go. A goal with the hardest shot on a goal in NHL history, at least since they've been tracking it the last several years with the NHL Edge that they call it with the stat tracking. Yeah, 104.3. There you go for Tate. So there you go. He had the hardest shot on a goal scored in recent NHL history. Yeah, and that's the strength of his game. He can flat out fucking shoot that puck. There's no doubt about it.
That's crazy. Usually you have defensemen that rip it that hard, but yeah, that's
for a forward to be able to rip the puck with that kind of velocity. Yeah. Pretty unheard of, pretty crazy. All right, Devils and Rangers. We've got the New Jersey Devils minus 160 road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. That felt like a big time, weight off the shoulders of New Jersey. Take a deep breath that everything's going to be all right, because certainly that California trip did not go well for New Jersey, losing to the Anaheim Ducks, LA Kings, San Jose Sharks 3 in a row. But they salvaged one game on that West Coast swing, beat the Seattle Kraken 3-2. Vezina version of Jacob Markstrom showed up in that game. He was phenomenal. He was the reason, really, they were able to survive and win that game. Now they take on this Rangers team that's just in shambles. And although they did jump on Dallas 3-0, a stunner early in that game, 3 goals in the first 11 minutes, 2 of them by Alexis Lafreniere. But you never felt that the Rangers were home and cool at any point in that game with their defensive issues, with their goaltending problems, and playing a team as good as Dallas, that Dallas was still not out of that game. And Dallas roars back. They tie it 3-3. Rangers go ahead 4-3. They tie it Dallas in the last few minutes. And then, of course, the power play goal, and the Rangers lose 5-4 in overtime there. That's still an issue, giving up goals. Igor Shesterkin making his return. He's been unavailable for the last few starts, but it will be back to Igor Shesterkin here in net for the Rangers. He hasn't been able to bail them out, though, lately, unfortunately. New Jersey's wiped the floor with the New York Rangers twice already this year. 2 meetings. The combined score, 10-1 Devils in the 2 head-to-head meetings between these two teams. I like New Jersey team total here. I know they haven't been scoring as much lately, but the Rangers will invite you to get your offense back on track against them. And I could see the New Jersey Devils doing that. So New Jersey team total over 3.5, plus 105 in this game. I think it's the best way to approach it. The Rangers are an over first period machine. The Devils are a first period under machine. So I'm kind of torn. I'm just going to go to the over 6 at minus 124 in this game. The first period over is strong for the Rangers, but the first period under is just as strong right now for the New Jersey Devils. So it's kind of a wash there for me with the first period total look. But I do like the over 6, and I really like the Devils team total over 3.5. And Jack Hughes owns the Rangers. I mentioned that on the show this morning with Jimmy the Bag. I'm on with him on Thursdays on his show. He has owned the Rangers. He's got 4 goals against the Rangers in the 2 games this year. I know it's not bargain bin price, obviously, but he has been scuffling a bit. He's had a lot of shots lately, but the puck hasn't been going in for him. Watch the New York Rangers be the cure for him. So plus 160, I still think Jack Hughes is a good look here as far as goal props. Paul Cotter's the value guy right now for the New Jersey Devils. What a streaky scorer he is, and he's starting to heat up again for the New Jersey Devils, and you can get plus 550 for Paul Cotter finding the back of the net tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Devils, Rangers.
Yeah, this is a game where I'll be looking for live spots. Like you said, now that with the 6s, mostly 6.5s, and that first period over trend, like I said with New York, if the Devils can maybe push some pace, we can get a better price. Maybe it's not going to be a goal really early. So I'm looking for over by fact the in game. I was looking toward the draw, but that I kind of shied away from that. Like I said, even though those are 2 teams, divisional and rivals, where I can see a close battle. But this is, like I said, Shesterkin's also kind of a question mark, right? With him coming back, let's see how he fares and how he looks. So this is a good live betting game for me.
All right, Edmonton and Pittsburgh. We've got the Oilers minus 220, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. This is going to be the shortest analysis from yours truly. For a game in a long time. There's nothing more to be said. Edmonton's beaten Pittsburgh 7 straight times. They've dummied this team, and in all 7 wins, they've scored at least 4 goals. All 7 wins in a row for Edmonton against Pittsburgh, they've scored at least 4 goals. Pittsburgh, that's a terrible loss against Columbus. Defensive warts showing up again. Doesn't matter if it's Jari or Nedeljkovic in net. It is Nedeljkovic tonight, but Edmonton 4+ goals 7 straight times against Pittsburgh. Edmonton team total over 3.5, minus 125 for me. Alex, what do you think here? Oilers, Penguins.
Right there with you. Actually, I laid 134 at FanDuel, so shop around for a better price. But like you said, yeah, I love Edmonton with the team total over. That's pretty much about it.
And that way, if Pittsburgh somehow offensively gives Edmonton trouble, I don't have to worry about Edmonton winning the game. I think they will, but just score 4 goals. You've done it 7 straight times. Pittsburgh gave up, the lead to Columbus the other night. It's not like it's that difficult to envision Pittsburgh giving up 4 goals to anybody. So yeah, Edmonton here over 3.5 for the team total.
Maybe
I
race
like
to
that.
3 goals.
Yeah,
This
you
could be
could
a
do
race
that.
to 3 goals
Yeah,
game. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
No
no
doubt
doubt.
at
I
all.
like Arvidsson, Podkolzin, those 3 guys there, Vasily and Victor. On that second line. They're starting to heat up. Connor Brown hasn't done much yet with McDavid and the Nuge, but you got to stick with it. There's still great value as far as that's concerned with Connor Brown playing with McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So stick with that. For Pittsburgh, Michael Bunting's heating up. It's, Drew O'Connor. I keep talking about Drew O'Connor for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think those are the 2 I'd be targeting on their side as far as player props in this one. Skinner confirmed in net, by the way, for the Edmonton Oilers. No surprise there. And like I said, it'll be Alex Nedeljkovic for the Pittsburgh Penguins. All right, Dallas and Philadelphia. Got the Dallas Stars minus 150 road favorites. The total sitting at 6 or 6.5. It's actually mostly 6.5. At most books, shaded to the under here in this game. Casey DeSmith getting the start here for the Dallas Stars tonight. I kind of expected that. I knew Peter DeBoer was going to give him at least a start pretty soon on this road trip. And I think when you look at it, it's not a surprise that Dallas or DeBoer is going to give him the start here against Philadelphia. Samuel Ersson is back for the Philadelphia Flyers. And we'll see how he fares back in the lineup. Now, he has not been the goalie that he was before his injury since he's been back. He struggled. I still think I trust him a little bit more, though, than Fedotov and Kolosov. As I've talked about over and over again, don't really have a huge amount of faith in those 2 goalies right now for the Flyers. So I think it's an upgrade by default that Ersson's back. Philadelphia is the king of losing, but being competitive. They've been in every game for the most part. Look at the 2 Toronto games, both of them 3-2 defeats. They're right there. One of the games does go to overtime against Toronto, and the game against Toronto and Philly the other night, the rematch, nearly went to overtime. It does go to overtime if Owen Tippett hits a wide open fucking yawning 2x4 of a cage in the final seconds of that game. Just couldn't believe he missed that. And if he scores there, I cashed that over, which was the best bet on the show the other night, and the game would have went to overtime. But Philadelphia plays hard. It's just these 1 or 2 plays here and there. They don't get the key power play goal because their power play is not good enough. They don't get the key goal when they need it. They don't get the key save when they need it. That's the difference in these tight games. And they always, not always, but more often than not, seem to be on the losing end of it. But they play hard. They're in most games. Wouldn't shock me if that's the case again tonight. If you actually look at Stars Flyers last year, Dallas had to go to overtime to beat them in Dallas. And Philly actually took them apart here in Philadelphia and beat the Dallas Stars 5-1 in that game. So Philly gave Dallas some fits last year. I'm on the draw in this game. I do like the draw and how this sets up here, Stars and Flyers. I think the Stars are going to kind of do what they did against the Rangers, where it's a game you can see them winning, but I don't think it's going to be an easy win for them. I think they're going to have to grind it out against a hardworking Flyers team. 2 straight Dallas games have gone to overtime. Philadelphia's played a lot of 1-goal, 2-goal games. They've been in it. And by the way, last year, one of the 2 games head-to-head went to overtime between these 2 teams as well. East versus West matchup component in play as well. Dallas doesn't care if the Flyers get a point. Flyers don't care if the Dallas Stars get a point. So I think the draw is a really good look here. You can get it in that plus 335, plus 340 range for me here. Draw, Stars and Flyers. Alex, what do you think here? Dallas, Philly.
Yeah, this is a draw season spot for sure. Like I said, the cross conference matchup, 2 teams not in each other's way. Dallas was the backup goalie. This could be kind of a game that goes a bit low and slow. I'd maybe even look at the under here potentially too at a 6.5. I think this may be a 2-2. Just maybe, well, maybe not because 3-3 would get you over if it goes overtime. But this definitely could be one that kind of starts off a bit slow. And and I think, like I said, you get ties late. This is a game where you're not going to see much happening until overtime or even a shootout. So draw at, like I said, plus 340 is the highest price available. I'm rocking with that as well.
All right, like the draw as well. It's a really good look. You know what? I was almost tempted. I almost took the Edmonton Pittsburgh draw, but the thing, because Pittsburgh's gone to overtime 3 straight games, but the thing that concerned me about that is that none of the Edmonton wins against Pittsburgh were overtime games, the 7 straight. So I stayed off that draw. Although you can make a case with Pittsburgh going to overtime 3 straight. I think this one's a good draw candidate here. Stars and Flyers. As far as props go, I'm rocking with Evgeny Dodonov again. As long as that guy stays up there with Hintz and Robertson on the top line, he's been good up there. He's got 7 points in the last 6 games for this Dallas team. Scored a goal, got an assist against the Rangers. He has 3 goals in the last 6 games, all of them with him being on the top line. So Evgeny Dodonov, I think, is still a good goal prop here for this Dallas Stars team right now with the way he's played up there. For Philadelphia, I mean, certainly Owen Tippett, yeah, does he get it back? The wide open net that he missed the other night, we'll see about that. Lawton, has been pretty solid lately, started to get heating up a little bit for the Philadelphia Flyers. There's a couple props on their side, but my favorite on the Dallas side, for at least for goal props, is definitely Evgeny Dodonov. They're playing on that top line for them right now. All right, Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. We've got Tampa Bay minus 165. Home favorites. Actually, minus 160 is now the average price, the most common price now with this game in most spots. Tampa minus 160. Total is 6 shaded to the under. A couple books do have 5.5 though with this total. I mean, it's supposed to be a Bruins response spot, right? It's supposed to be. They're off a debacle against Edmonton. They were horrible in that game. It's one of the worst pathetic performances I've seen of a Boston Bruins team, that prideful franchise, that iconic, historic franchise, so much history, so many good teams and good years in the past, to fucking lay the ultimate egg like that against Edmonton. It was ugly, that loss to Edmonton. It's supposed to be a response. The Moms are on the trip with the Bruins here down in Tampa Bay. That's supposed to be a bet on spot all the way. And yet I'm fading that bet on spot. I took Tampa, believe it or not, at a better price than what's out there right now. But I took Tampa. I think Tampa's got to get on a roll. They're back home. They got back on track after the rough road trip. They beat Carolina 3-2, the Braden Point last-minute goal. I don't like going against the Moms trips, but gosh, this Boston team, man, this is a rough run. I mean, the Leafs game, they didn't look great. Their defense is out of sorts. The Islander game, they give up 5 goals to the Islanders, can't hold a lead at home against the Islanders. It's a horrible sign. And then, of course, you've got the all-time flat-out brutal performance against Edmonton. That's just flat. It's not just flat. It was bad. You were dominated, and you were flat, and you really didn't have much of a pushback. All kinds of concerns, in my opinion, for this Boston team. So I'm concerned with the Moms trip. Yeah, I don't like going against teams when they got the Moms with them. But boy, oh boy, not for me with this Boston team. So Tampa, it's a small bet though. It's certainly not anything significant with Tampa. But when it was below minus 150 earlier, I did take it. I got it as low as minus 148. It's climbed a little bit. I'd be careful. If you're going to take Tampa now, take a -1 or regulation. And yes, this is a system play. And I'm scared to death taking the system play tonight because Boston's offense, is hit or miss. And that's putting it mildly. But we have to rely on the fact that we have seen Boston in this situation 4 previous times this year. 4. Where they've been off a shutout loss. 3-1 first period over in these 4 games off a shutout loss this year. 4-0 to the full game over in the games after a shutout loss. So Boston's been very reliable in these situations. When they've been off a shutout loss, they've gotten it done for us with the system play. 3-1 first period over. 4-0 full game over for the Boston Bruins this season, and the 4 previous times they've been off a shutout loss. So we are on the over by Fecta here tonight with the Bruins and the Lightning. First period over for me in this game was minus 116. Full game over, 5.5, minus 120 was the best price out there with the full game over. Alex, what do you think here? Bruins, Lightning.
Literally the first 2 bets I made this morning were the full game over and the first period over. I got 5.5. I got minus 120. 122, and then first period over, I got minus 120 at Caesar. So, like I said, just rocking with that. Maybe a sprinkle in the draw here too. This is one where like I said, Atlantic Division. When these are rivals, like I said, Boston with the Moms trip. I will have a little bit of draw in pocket. It's not one of my favorite draw plays of the night, but it's definitely one I will have a little bit of a sprinkle. I can see this one maybe being a 3-3, 4-4 kind of game.
Yeah. That's actually what I was looking at, Addison. There was Chris's chart with the because Chris is doing an amazing job. He's keeping track of the off a shutout loss results with the system, team by team. Let me just see what I've got here with first. Oh, you know what? It is 4-0 first period. You know what? I was looking at the goal in first 10 minutes. That's what's 3-1. You're right. First period over is 4-0. Yep. First period over is 4-0. Full game over is 4-0 this year for Boston. The 4 previous times off a shutout loss. So, yeah, I just read it wrong. But, yeah, 4-0 first period over, 4-0 full game over. Boston off a shutout loss this year, and that's the system in play here tonight. As far as props for this game, I mean, obviously with Boston, I do expect Boston to – the one thing about Boston is they have scored goals coming off these shutout losses. You'd expect they'd want to bounce back. But there's Brazeau would be someone I'd trust. Fredericks actually started to make some things happen again. Geeky on the top line maybe was Zacha's had a disappointing year. There's no doubt about that. It's been a huge fall off for Pavel Zacha this year, not only offensively, but I don't think he's been great, from a defensive perspective either for the Bruins. But like I said, I think it's definitely a situation here where, Boston's been reliable with the system play. As then for Tampa Bay, Brandon Hagel, and he's had good success against the Bruins in the past. You could look in that direction. Chafee and Nick Paul, I think, continue to be good value looks for Tampa Bay as well. So, like I said, good stuff as far as that's concerned. All right, next up, we continue along here. Toronto and Carolina. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes -180 home favorites here in this game. The total 5.5 shaded to the over in this game. Now, we did talk about the Toronto trend with the overs on the road. 6 goals or more, 13-5. 13 of 18 road games for Toronto, 6 goals or more. But one of the games that did not get to 6 on the road for them was their last game against Philadelphia. And I'm a little bit leery of betting the over here because if it's Joseph Woll in net, which I do expect, he's been just tremendous. He really has. He's been great for this team. They played, they're not giving up a ton. Carolina's not producing at the level they're capable of offensively right now. So I am just a little bit leery right now of this this over because of that. Carolina's not scoring a ton. Toronto is getting great goaltending. Kochetkov has not been so great. He's been very is the best way to describe Pyotr Kochetkov in net lately. He's been okay. He hasn't been great. If Joseph Woll is confirmed in net in this game, and I know Carolina still is at their best at home. The road has been a problem for them. Winning 2 in a row is a problem. You got them at home off a loss. That's usually a very good Carolina spot when that's the case. But I can't justify Carolina in their form being -180 right now. I can't. I mean, at this point in time. So if Woll's in, I'm going to take not a big bet, but a small bet on Toronto at this price. +150, +155. I think it's just an overpriced home favorite. That's just not in the greatest of forms right now. A team that's 500, less than that, 4-6 in their last 10 games, laying this kind of a price. Toronto's won 5 in a row. I know Carolina's at home where they've been better, but you give me Carolina, or you give me Joseph Woll confirmed in this game in net for the Leafs, I will be taking a small flyer here with the Toronto Maple Leafs at north of +150, which you can actually get as high as +165. At some books here with Toronto in this game. It's just a little mispriced, in my opinion. What do you think here, Alex? Leafs, Hurricanes.
This is a pass for me on a big card. I got a lot of other plays there, so I don't have anything in this one.
Yeah, no question. Prop-wise for this game with Leafs and the Hurricanes, I think for Carolina, Jarvis starting to get going again. Roslovic, we've talked about consistently what he's been capable of for the Hurricanes. For Toronto, it goes without saying our guy Matthew Nyes. And you would think Matthew Nyes at this point, maybe it's because Carolina is a good defensive team. They're playing Carolina, in Carolina where they're good at home. But this guy has now scored, 5 goals in the last 3 games, and he scored a goal in 3 straight games, both games against the Flyers, and then, of course, the hat-trick performance against Boston on Saturday. He can't be +380 to score a goal in this game at FanDuel, given what he's done lately. That is just absolutely absurd. And I think I'm kind of giving it away for bargain bin, what I'm liking here tonight. That is absurd. Plus 380 for Matthew Nyes right now. The guy's a machine. The puck hits a stick, it's going in. He scored in 3 straight games. He's got 5 goals in these 3 games, and he's plus 380, damn near plus 400 in some books to score a goal tonight. Like I said, it's crazy value for him as far as I'm concerned tonight in this game. Bobby McMahon, playing with Tavares and Nylander now, could be worth a look. You know what? I get a feeling he scores a lot of his goals on the road, and it looks like after being a scratch against Philly, they put Reeves in, thinking there might be some nastiness and some physical play and maybe a fight to answer for Hathaway to answer the bell for what happened with McCabe. It never materialized, but that's why Reeves was in that game. Now, of course, nothing happened. Reeves is back out. Nick Robertson's back in. Wouldn't shock me to see Nick Robertson maybe find the back of the net because a lot of his goals have been scored on the road this year for this Leafs team. So he's as high as plus 825 to score a goal. So not a bad option. And yes, it is still the Leafs mentors trip. Now, mentors can be anybody: mom, dad, uncle, aunt, former coach, maybe a teacher growing up in school is your mentor. I like that Austin Matthews picked Joe Thornton as his mentor, because Joe Thornton was with the Leafs when Austin Matthews was like in year 1, year 2 in the NHL with the Leafs. So that's pretty cool that Austin Matthews chose Jumbo Joe Thornton to be his mentor on this trip. And Joe Thornton's with the mentors on this Leafs trip. So pretty cool choice there by Austin Matthews. All right, next up as we continue along, we've got Anaheim and St. Louis. Blues minus 205. Home favorites, actually more close to minus 200. The total in this one, 6, shaded to the under in this game. Certainly St. Louis not going to be thrilled with their last 2 games. I mean, losing back-to-back like they have to Columbus and Minnesota. Identical scores, too, 6-4 in both games. Not pretty for a team that had been playing a little bit better defensive hockey under Jim Montgomery, but certainly has not been the case here the last 2 games. We'll see how how St. Louis fares. It feels like a good bounce-back spot for St. Louis. I expect them to bring it. I expect them to play a really good game tonight off those 2 losses in a row. But at the same point in time, they're laying a big number. They have owned Anaheim, 7 straight wins over the Anaheim Ducks, but just don't feel comfortable laying a price like this with St. Louis, even though it could be a bounce-back situation for them. Joel Hofer confirmed in net. We expect Lukas Dostal for Anaheim, although it's not confirmed yet. Anaheim's playing too good as well to lay minus 200 against them right now. They're 4-2 in their last 6 games. They beat some good teams in the mix: Edmonton, Jersey, Winnipeg, Tampa. They lost a heartbreaker in overtime against Calgary, 3-2. We'll see how this one plays out. This is another one who could be a draw candidate. These 2 teams did play a shootout game last year. St. Louis is playing, I should say Anaheim is playing some very competitive hockey right now. I could see the draw being worth a small shot here, and that's probably what I might go with in this game. Other than that, not a whole lot. St. Louis, I think, could win, but not at minus 200. Not interested at this kind of price with the Blues here in this game. And the total could go either way, and I'm less inclined to look over unless John Gibson's confirmed in net. What do you think here, Alex? Ducks, Blues?
Yeah, this is a game where I like the over trifecta, and I'm also going with the first period trifecta. So what we're talking about there is the first period over. We're talking about both teams to score in the first period. I got plus 182 with that, and I'm also going with that correct score, a 1-1 tie, plus 550. So I guess you could really say a quad, too, because if you like the 3-way, you get that draw plus 175. So we kind of played 4 things on the first period, but I like the over as well. And like I said, a little bit of that draw also I'll sprinkle with, so maybe even go correct score the full game, but definitely expecting goals here early and often. So like I said, the 1-1 tie would be kind of just maybe a smaller sprinkle than everything else, because it could be 2-1, it could be 2-2, and of course that's going to lose. So we're looking at that first period over and both teams to score. But like I said, with St. Louis's dominance against Anaheim playing a little bit better, I think this is going to be a fun competitive game. This might be sneaky competition for one of the games of the night.
I will join you on the over if Gibson's in net. I will say that, and that's all I'm waiting for. Is to see if he's in between the pipes. And I think there's potential he might be. We'll see, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. But you liking the over regardless. And look, Joel Hofer's given up 9 goals in his last 2 starts combined. And those games were, 7-4 and 6-4 with Nashville and Columbus, those 2 games. And St. Louis is having some issues right now defensively. Yep.
I should specify this is over 5.5. Minus 130 at DraftKings is another
Yeah.
one where I'm not waiting around. I'm playing 130, and this regardless of goalie for Anaheim.
Yeah, I like it, and I like actually a lot of what Jonathan's saying as far as goal props here. Holloway, of course, I'm betting Holloway again, no doubt about that. Kooky, lend me Lacombe. Jackson Lacombe. He didn't score the last game, but he's still been popping them from the blue line lately for Anaheim. Still worth a lot, worth a shot as far as I'm concerned. I like the Fabry angle. Robbie Fabry going back to the original team, St. Louis, his first team in the NHL that he started his NHL career with. And I think he could find the back of the net tonight for the Ducks against them. And that you're right. I noticed that too. That Anaheim, they've got Nikita Nesterenko back in the lineup. The guy's got 2 goals, and a crazy stat that both of them against the St. Louis Blues, if you can believe it. So maybe it's kismet. Maybe it's just meant to be. And you can find plus 750 for him to score a goal. Again, he scored 2 goals in the National Hockey League. They both happened against St. Louis. So, like I said, the Nikita Nesterenko, at that price, sprinkle a couple bucks on it. Why not? Plus 750, given that track record against this particular foe. All right, we've got Colorado and Minnesota. Man, is this a game where there's a lot to talk about here? A lot to unpack. When it comes to the Avs and the Wild. We've got Colorado minus 135, road favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the under. At what point is enough when it comes to the Minnesota Wild? Great, incredible job by them, no doubt. Incredible job by them to be able to battle through all these injuries the way they have. No Kaprizov, no problem. They've been able to win games. They've been terrific. They find ways to win. They beat St. Louis the other night without him. And the fact that they lost, obviously, Brock Faber as well. And that's the loss in that game that, is really significant moving forward, is now losing Brock Faber, who has, I think, become clearly the glue guy, the guy of the heartbeat of the blue line, the heartbeat of the defense right now for the Minnesota Wild. And it's just, at what point is it just too many key personnel, too much key personnel, too many key injuries to overcome? That's what you have to ask yourself, because it was Kaprizov and it was Spurgeon, and now you're talking about Brodin out again. Oh, shocker. Brodin and Spurgeon out again at the same time. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have knew? Who would have thought that would be possible? That Brodin and Spurgeon are out at the same time again due to injury. I've never seen that before. Never. My goodness. And here we are again. With those 2 guys out again. And now Faber, it's just, I'm sorry. You go out there and you win tonight. And if John Merrill, God bless him, Zach Bogosian, God bless him, Jake Middleton, God bless him, are going to score a goal like they did against St. Louis, I'll tip my cap and say, great job, guys. I don't see that happening again, like they did against St. Louis, by the way, the other night. All 3 of those pluggers, and that's what they are. They're pluggers on the blue line. They scored 3 goals for Minnesota in that game. Merrill, Middleton, and Bogosian. If they do it again tonight, tip the cap and say, wow, Minnesota, they got the horseshoe up their keister right now. They can do no wrong at this point. I like how this sets up for Colorado. They're off a loss that's not going to sit well against Chicago. They've got Mackenzie Blackwood, who's been just lights out. What is he? 1.39 goals against, 938 save percentage for the Avs going into this game. Bounce back spot. I know it's a back-to-back rest advantage here for Minnesota, but it's obviously a Colorado team that's probably not going to be feeling great about losing the other night. Colorado's owned them as well. 6 of the last 7 meetings won by the Avalanche over this Minnesota Wild team. They've actually won 4 in a row at the XL Energy Center over Minnesota as well. So sorry, Terry, but I'm on Colorado minus 135 here tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Avs Wild.
Yeah, I actually went Colorado regulation. I got plus 110 that's available at FanDuel. Plus 105 is available at BetOnline. So shop around for that. But like you said, this is way too much. At what point, as Minnesota starts to turn into Iowa, essentially on that back end, you just wonder how long can this withstand. So Colorado should be able to, like I said, get off the schneid from what happened last night. And like I said, it wasn't that they played a bad game in goal, but everybody else was just kind of lethargic, right? There was just times where that game fell just flat and dead. Even for the Hawks, I said it on Twitter last night. It's like the crowd needs to wake the fuck up. Like this game was just kind of it was a sleepwalk spot. So now you've gotten off of that, They said quick turnaround. I think Colorado jumps out early, so I will have a bargain bin play on this game as well. But Colorado regulation, like I said, plus 105, plus 110 available.
What are they doing for goaltending, by the way? Because look at this situation. Gustafson's starting. We know that.
Right.
And he got pulled in the last game. And that's another thing I am concerned about. It's not slam dunk Colorado's win. I just think now we're at the point. It's just a little too much for Minnesota to overcome all of this.
Yeah.
There's one thing with Kaprizov out and Spurgeon out. Now Brodin is out. Now Faber's out. That's easily. It's not even close. Faber, Spurgeon, and Brodin, those are your three best defensemen. And you're going to have to play a lot more of Bogosian and Middleton, a top pair. Are you shitting me? I have no qualms betting against that for one night as a top pair. Simple as that. Merrill and Chisholm, Dermott, who's been bounced around from one team to the next. And Jiricek's going to be a nice player, but come on, he's a young kid. So, right away he's going to be asked a lot. So, like I said, there's issues tonight for Minnesota. If they overcome it and Gustafsson steals the game, so be it. But like I said, I think it's a lot to overcome for Minnesota here tonight in this game, especially Colorado coming off the loss here in this one. As far as props go, doesn't mean I don't like a couple of Minnesota props here in this game. And specifically, I would say keep going to Rossi, Boldy. They've been very good on the top line. For the Colorado Avalanche, here's one for you. I mean, Lehkonen, we've talked about. Colton, Middlestat. It looks like they are going to give Jiri Inola a chance here on the second line tonight for the Colorado Avalanche. He has played 8 games at the NHL level, has not registered a point, but you are talking about someone that looks like he could be getting second line opportunity here tonight for the Colorado Avalanche in this game. So we'll see how this one plays out. And Matt makes a good point too. I think if Colorado had won last night, I'd be less interested in them tonight.
Yeah,
against Minnesota. I might still bet.
It'd be a draw spot. It would be a draw spot, I think, if Colorado won last night.
Yeah, and it's been a while. You're right, since the Avs have lost 2 in a row. And again, Blackwood's just been. I can't say it. Now he has had issues with Minnesota head to head, but again, it's almost like you have to just put all the stats with Blackwood of the New Jersey San Jose days in the incinerator, because he really has looked like a different goalie with a much better team, in front of him. And
it's so far it's giving what Linus Ullmark the transition when he left Buffalo and then went to Boston. It was just a completely different goaltender. So
yeah, no doubt. Well, no doubt. So, like I said, look, if Minnesota wins tonight with a Zach Bogosian, Jake Middleton top paired blue line, what can I say? I bow down to Minnesota if they win with those two guys as their top pair tonight. I bow down to them if they're able to find a way. All right, next up, our final game of this Thursday slate. We've got the New York Islanders and the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas minus 180, home favorites here, 6 the total in this game, pretty much across the board. I think when you look at the I'm trying to see here. What happened to my banners here? I hit something, and what the hell's happened here? Oh, there we go. I just hit the wrong button. Just a little discombobulated here for a second. No worries. We'll just get this. There we go. All right, we're back to the main screen. All right, Islanders and Golden Knights. We've got the that's what happens. Live show, folks. Vegas minus 180. I don't have much to say on this game, quite honestly. Minus 180, total 6. Big card. I don't really have a strong opinion here. I think I could only look at Vegas. I mean, I don't want the Islanders here on the road against this red-hot, surging Vegas team. But at the same point in time, I don't know. I got this queasy feeling. It's like maybe a hiccup spot for Vegas, crazy as it is to say, because I remember they had one of these against Montreal. They had one against Utah where they were coming off a California win. They came back home against Utah, and that's the game they lost 6-0. I remember it earlier this year. So, like I said, I just feel like the minus 180, it's, I don't love the value on Vegas. I don't want the Islanders. It's Vegas or pass, but ultimately I decided to pass this game. And it is worth noting the Islanders have won, Alex, 2 of their last 3 visits to T-Mobile Arena, believe it or not, in Vegas. They've won 2 of the last 3. So, and there you go, Vegas 6-7 against Eastern Conference teams. They actually have a losing record against Eastern Conference teams this year, the Vegas Golden Knights. It's a very good stat. Another reason to just stay on the sidelines here for me, even though I think Vegas is hard to bet against right now with the way they're playing. Alex, final game here, Islanders, Golden Knights.
Yeah, and even when I'm looking, all the matchups that have gone past the regulation are all taking place on Long Island. So this is going to be a pass for me as well. Like I said, we've got enough going, and yeah, not really liking either spot, not trusting any team. And like the Vegas, you're even laying a price here in regulation, and that just seems like it could be a bit tricky. So this pass.
Yeah, Mark Stone's red hot, no question about that. No argument maybe looking at goal prop. I'm going to go back to Pearson again. Tanner Pearson, as long as he stays up there with Jack Eichel and Mark Stone, there's great value. Didn't score, obviously, against San Jose, but you don't jump off the bet if you think there's value with a player in a certain spot. I think there is with Pearson. Olofsson's been pretty good lately, so keep an eye on him as well. That's a good stat there from Jonathan saying about Shea Theodore. For some reason, he faces Sorokin, and he's done some damage. So if you buy into the fact that Theodore with some goal scoring success in the past against Ilya Sorokin, who we do expect to be in net tonight, although it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I don't see how it's not Ilya Sorokin for the New York Islanders. It's not like they can afford to squander games right now with their position in the standings. I don't think we're going to see a Marcus Högberg sighting here tonight because Varlamov is still on IR. But if it is Sorokin in net, just note that Shea Theodore has been fine in the back of the net against him in the past. Hurdle as well, according to Jonathan. So keep that in mind. But yeah, for me, this is just one of those games. Vegas playing great, easily could and probably should win this game. But like I said, I got a feeling that the Islanders are going to hang around and make things trickier for Vegas than maybe some people think. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Again, we've got, of course, our goalie charts, totals charts, and our daily betting card posted each and every day on the Patreon page, sides, totals, player props, $10 per month. Make sure you sign up. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show. We're on the quest for 250 now as far as Patreon members. We hit the 200 members mark. We're looking to make it 250, and it's a great time to sign up because this is a big betcast month coming up. 2 of our 3 betcasts are Patreon exclusive live betcasts, including next Tuesday, January the 14th. Our first betcast of the year is a Patreon exclusive live betcast next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. We have the free-for-all one on January 21st, the following Tuesday, and then back to another Patreon exclusive live betcast on Tuesday, January 28th. And again, the only way to access the Patreon exclusive live betcasts, either tuning in to watch them live or joining us on the stream while they take place, is again being a Patreon member. So make sure you sign up now. Great time to do it. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got everything in stock right now. No specials at the moment, but there will be specials coming up later this month. So definitely check that on out right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, we got Bargain Bin Special of the night. Best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. Get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night, big Thursday slate, lots to choose from and peruse as far as the bargain bin board. Alex, what do you like for the bargain bin special?
Yep, we're gonna head up the street to the Wild game tonight with the Avalanche, and like I said, there's a lot of injuries for that blue line for the Wild. I think the Avs will be able to take care of business and score early and often. I think the first person to score in this game will be Arturi Lehkonen of the Colorado Avalanche. Get him plus 1,600 at DraftKings. I'll see plus 1,300 over at FanDuel. So Arturi Lehkonen to get the first goal of the game for Colorado, plus 1,600 at DraftKings. That's my bargain special tonight.
There you go. Arturi Lehkonen to be the first goal scorer of the game for the Colorado Avalanche. A really good price, obviously, with that for Alex with his bargain bin special of the night. And, of course, my bargain bin special, I didn't expect this price to be available for a guy with 5 goals in the last 3 games and goals in 3 straight games, but the price is there. It is bargain bin worthy. Hungry Knies, 1 goal from you and I can't describe. Matthew Knies, Toronto Maple Leafs plus 380 for my bargain bin special tonight. Again, I did not expect the price to be that good on it, but it is, and we're going to take it with Matthew Knies plus 380 for the Toronto Maple Leafs for my goal score bargain bin special of the night. All right, we've got best bets to wrap it up. Alex, what do you like here for best bet?
Draw season's in full swing, and my favorite draw of the night is Buffalo Ottawa. I got plus 320 at BetMGM. I think that one's going to be kind of a, like I said, back and forth contest. I think it's going to take a little longer than 60 minutes to get the job done. So Sabres and Sens, regulation draw plus 320. My best bet tonight.
There you go. Buffalo Ottawa draw plus 320 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. Yeah, Matt Robinson sent me I don't know if I got your bargain bin, but his bargain bin is Cale Makar for the Colorado Avalanche, as he just posted in the chat. But I know I did get the best bet because he sent me a best bet. He knew he was going to be not able to be on the show today with under the weather. So Matt Robinson, Cale Makar for his bargain bin special plus 340. His best bet is Rangers Devils first period over. I know that because that's what he sent me. Rangers Devils first period over for Matt Robinson with his best bet for this Thursday card. And my best bet for this Thursday card, lots to choose from. Who am I to argue with 4-0 first period over, 4-0 full game over? And that's what we've got with Boston and Tampa, with Boston off a shutout loss this year. Perfect 4-0 with the first period over, full game over. I'll go with the full game over. Bruins Lightning over 5.5 minus 125. That is what I will roll with for best bet here for this Thursday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And again, we've got lots coming up. We got 3 Tuesdays in a row of Ice Guys live betcasts. We cannot wait for that. 2 of them Patreon exclusive. It'll be great. It feels like it's been a while since we had our last betcast, so we're looking forward to giving you 3 consecutive Tuesdays of Ice Guys live betcasts starting next week. Definitely excited about that. And Matt will be back for his regular spots Tuesday and Thursday. It's been a hectic week for him. He was in Florida. Now he's under the weather. He was playing the hockey this weekend for Reno against FDNY. And that FDNY goalie, man, made it look like Marty Brodeur in those games against Reno. That Nick Battaglia guy, he was playing tremendous in that game. Or in those 2 games, especially the second game. My goodness, you got to give him all the credit in the world for that. But that was good hockey there with Reno and the fire department from New York over the weekend. Good stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games, and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.